According to a 2021 UNICEF report, approximately 35% of children under 5 years old in India are stunted. And malnutrition doesn't just affect children, it's also a major issue among women as well. And the National Family Health Survey revealed that more than 50% of women in India suffer from anemia. Why malnutrition persists in a country that's been experiencing rapid economic growth. And the reality is a lack of access to affordable, nutritious food, poor knowledge about healthy diets, healthy food choices, and in some cases, cultural practices that limit the access to balanced diets. What is up, everybody? Chris Gethin here, and if you're watching this, as you can see behind me, we are at a Chris Gethin gyms here in India, and this happens to be one of the latest and greatest gyms. This is in a place called Gurugram, Sector 65, which is a part of Delhi, and we literally just opened this facility, and it's absolutely phenomenal. So I thought this is the perfect time to talk about what we're going to cover today is a deep dive into one of India's most pressing health challenges. And that is a crisis tackling the challenges of malnutrition, obesity, and the changing food culture here. So India is in the middle of quite a unique health crisis that isn't limited to one group of people or one region of the country. It's definitely a national issue that spans across urban and rural areas alike. So we're seeing a rising tide of health issues that have come from both ends of the spectrum. On one hand, you have millions of people in India that are still facing malnutrition, while on the other hand, there's a staggering increase in obesity and lifestyle diseases. So this is both alarming and telling of the changes that have taken place in our food system and our food culture over the past few decades. So in today's episode, there's a few of these things that I want to cover, and I want to explore the root causes of these problems, highlighting the most recent statistics and trends around food, around health, and discuss practical solutions that the people here and Indians within this nation can do to help themselves and communities. So by the end of this episode, I really hope that you'll walk away with a deeper understanding of the food challenges that we face here, as well as some of the ideas on how to make healthier choices and foster positive changes in your community. Because after spending a lot of time here, I do notice that it is very much, of course, it's a vegetarian culture, about 60%, but then very high carbs and high fat and very little protein. And, it is the fastest growing country when it comes to diabetes, so we call it diabesity. So there's a lot of things that we can do there. But let's start with the issue of malnutrition. Like when we think of malnutrition, it's easy to picture remote villages of poverty-stricken regions. However, this is a misconception. Malnutrition is still widespread in both urban and rural areas across India, affecting millions of children, millions of women, and adults. So according to a 2021 UNICEF report, approximately 35% of children under 5 years old in India are stunted. And that means they're too short for their age. And this is due to chronic undernutrition. So this is one of the most alarming statistics because it not only impacts their physical development, but also their cognitive development, which has long-term effects on their educational outcomes, their employment opportunities, and overall quality of life. And malnutrition doesn't just affect children, it's also a major issue among women as well. And the National Family Health Survey, that's NFHS, revealed that more than 50% of women in India suffer from anemia. And anemia is a condition caused by lack of sufficient iron in the blood, and it leads to symptoms like fatigue, weakness, and even complications during childbirth. So this is especially worrying in a country where women are already disproportionately affected by healthcare inadequacies and often are the caregivers within families. So this is a crisis that, of course, we don't really hear about much, but I want to bring attention to it. So if I can spread the word, great, but I will be relying on you to spread the word as well by sharing this podcast. So let's pause here for a moment and think about why malnutrition persists in a country that's been experiencing rapid economic growth. And the reality is, while India has made huge strides in reducing poverty over the past few decades, malnutrition remains a problem because of, well, multiple factors. These include a lack of access to affordable, nutritious food, poor knowledge about healthy diets, healthy food choices, and in some cases, cultural practices that limit the access to balanced diets. So let's cover a few of these things, actually. In urban areas, the problem of malnutrition is compounded by the rise of processed foods that are cheap, they're convenient, they're calorie dense, but not nutrient dense. So many people in cities are opting for fast food, snacks, sugary foods, sugary drinks. And this leads to hidden forms of malnutrition. So while urban Indians may be getting enough calories or maybe too many calories, they aren't necessarily getting the essential calories and vitamins and minerals their bodies need. So we've got an issue here with the macronutrients are being disproportionate. Too many carbs, too much fat, not enough protein, and then a lot of these micronutrients are missing, a lot of their essential vitamins and minerals, because remember, the soil isn't as nutrient dense as it once was due to overharvestation. So with that said, let's move on to segment 2, and that's the rise of obesity and lifestyle diseases. So let's switch gears and talk about the other end of that health spectrum, obesity. So in the past 2 decades, India has seen a rapid increase in obesity, particularly in urban centers. Like the National Family Health Survey, again, NFHS, found that there was a prevalence of obesity among Indian adults which has more than doubled, and a trend that's alarming for a country that was once largely associated with undernourishment. So obesity is not just a cosmetic issue, it's the root cause of several serious health problems, including diabetes, heart disease, hypertension, and strokes as well. And according to the International Diabetes Federation, India has over 77 million people living with diabetes, which is the second highest in the world. That's a huge number, and it speaks to the growing problems of lifestyle diseases that are largely driven by poor diets, sedentary behavior, and of course, stress. One of those stresses could be coming from going to bed really late. A lot of people in India go to bed late. They don't have enough sleep, so that, of course, can cause insulin resistance and, of course, a rise in cortisol, heart disease, stress. So when you look at the lifestyle factors contributing to this increase in obesity, it's clear that processed foods, fast food, sugary beverage, and lack of physical activity are major contributors. And in India's growing middle class, there is more disposable income, and that's often being spent on unhealthy food options. Global fast food chains and packaged snack manufacturers are aggressively marketing their products in India, and many Indians are choosing these options for their convenience, for their taste, for the affordability, often without realizing the long-term health consequences and not realizing that is addictive. So what makes it even more concerning is that obesity is not just an adult issue. It's affecting children as well. With more children eating junk food, spending hours in front of the screens, childhood obesity is on the rise. And according to a report by the World Health Organization, WHO, over 3 million children in India are obese, and that number is growing every year. and by the day, So I'm hoping by listening to this, you're going to make some changes to your kids' foods and of course to your own, make healthier food choices. And this is one of the things that we do preach here in Chris Gethin Gyms. Don't think of it as a place to just build your biceps and your pecs. It's here to learn and educate. This is why we call them academies as well. So let's go on to segment 3, the changing food culture in India. So what's causing the dramatic shift in India's food culture? So let's explore how eating habits have changed over time. Traditional Indian food was based on fresh, home-cooked meals with a focus on vegetables, whole grains, legumes, and lean proteins. The Indian, has a variety of flavors and nutrient-dense ingredients. And, there is a lot of balanced foods and eating that you can employ here. But as urbanization has taken hold of the country's economy, or the economy has grown, we've seen a rapid transformation in food consumption. So today, many Indians are turning to processed foods, packaged foods, fast food chains, sugary drinks, ready-to-eat meals have flooded the market. And these are increasingly becoming on-the-go options for busy families and working professionals. And I just did a talk only yesterday with a technology company, and that was the same thing. They all said, it's inconvenience, and they're just going for convenience. But a lot of these people are not preparing in advance. There's also a cultural shift happening with the rise of social media and global exposure. Younger generations are more influenced by Western food trends and eating habits. And fast food is no longer just an occasional treat. It's become a regular part of daily life for many people, particularly in urban areas. So this shift is compounded by aggressive marketing from the global food corporations, which target children with cartoon characters, catchy jingles, and promises of convenience. This shift towards processed foods, combined with more sedentary lifestyle, has led to the alarming rise in health issues like obesity and diabetes. The availability of unhealthy food options and the decline of traditional Indian food habits are the core of this issue. However, we also should talk about another growing concern in food preparation that is increasingly affecting not just the food itself, but our health. And that is the overuse of plastics and materials like sellotape by food prep companies and coffee shops. These practices are becoming so common, especially in high takeout food surfaces, coffee shops, because it's easy to overlook their consequences. But the truth is that overuse of single-use plastics, especially in food packaging, is leading to the consumption of microplastics in our body. So when food is packaged in plastic containers, wrapped in cling film or sealed with sellotape, tiny plastic particles can also leach into the food itself, especially if it's heated up. These microplastics are not just an environmental problem, they are also a health concern. Microplastics have been found to disrupt our endocrine system, and this can mimic hormones in the body that interfere with normal functioning of hormones like estrogen and testosterone. This can potentially lead to long-term health issues, including fertility, including hormonal imbalances, lower testosterone levels, and in certain cases, cancers. So this makes this particularly alarming because these microplastics are entering the body through our food and drink without us even realizing it. Like, I've been eating from a very healthy food prep company since I've been here, but the amount of sellotape and plastics, I'll have one meal, but like 4 different containers of plastic for that one meal instead of putting in one tub and then just covered in sellotapes. So the convenience of plastic packaging might seem harmless, but it's contributing to a health problem here where we're only starting to understand. And with the increasing popularity of meal delivery services, takeout coffees, and other packaged foods, it's becoming harder to avoid exposure to these microplastics. Now, the issue is a huge reminder that the way food is stored and served needs to be reevaluated for the sake of both the environment and our health, the public health. So yeah, there's a lot of concerning factors there. Like if I have a coffee here, it'll come in plastic cup, but then covered in sellotape, plastic lid. It's like way too much. Let's go into segment 4. What Indians can be doing that's healthier for them. So what can Indians do to reverse these trends that take control of their health? There's good news. There are actionable steps that individuals and communities can take to turn the tide. So I'd say one key solution is returning to traditional home-cooked meals. But when they're cooked, not in vegetable oil, not deeply fried. This means focusing more on fresh, locally sourced ingredients and avoiding the processed packaged foods. And many Indians already have access to a variety of nutrient-dense food like lentils, like pulses, vegetables, fruits. But these need to be prioritized over the fast food and junk food. So eating more plant-based foods is great. A plant-based diet has been shown to reduce the risk of chronic diseases like heart disease, diabetes, and cancer. So by increasing, the amount of protein from these sources, Indians can improve their health. Of course, I'm mentioning this because around 60% of the population is vegetarian. A lot of the clients that I train are plant-based or vegetarian. So in addition to diet, physical activity plays a crucial role, hence why we're setting up so many gyms across India. Physical inactivity is one of the leading causes of obesity. And simple activities like walking, cycling, working out, yoga can make a significant difference. And, what's it called? Not paddle boards, pickleball. Pickleball is, another great way of having a lot of activity and community connection. So physical inactivity is one of the leading causes of obesity. Simple activities is all you need, but you must be consistent. Yoga in particular is an ancient practice here in India. It's not only good for the body, but also good for the mind. So yoga into daily life can help with weight management, improve flexibility, reduction in stress, and overall well-being. But these changes can't just come from an individual. They need to be supported by public health initiatives, policy changes. Governments can do more to promote healthy eating by regulating food advertising, especially those targeting children. Schools can play a critical role in incorporating nutrition education into their curriculums and offering healthier food options in cafeterias. Another key solution is making healthy food more accessible and affordable, particularly in low-income and rural areas. So this is where community initiatives can make a big impact. Encouraging local farmers and promoting sustainable agricultural practices can help provide affordable, nutritious food options for everyone. And the one thing that I really hate, and I say this because I train a lot of celebrities over here, is when they advertise bad foods, because people, especially kids, look up to a lot of these entertainers and then will start consuming bad food because of them. Or maybe their parents have, and now they're going to pass it to their children. Let's go on to segment 5. Examples of success stories here in India. So, in many cities, there are local initiatives that are making a real difference in improving public health. For example, there are NGOs working to distribute nutritious meals in schools to combat malnutrition. And there are startups that are making organic, locally grown produce more accessible to urban consumers. And some cities have launched cycling initiatives and public fitness programs to promote physical activity. So one example that's on the rise of healthy food apps in India is MyFitnessPal. I think the other one is called Healthify Me, and they become popular tools for Indians looking to track their diet and fitness. And these apps make it easier to monitor what you're eating and ensure that you're getting the right nutrients And moreover, they're part of a growing movement that emphasizes the importance of personalized health and wellness. While I'm here in India, I use what's called an ultra-human ring that was created here in India, and I also use their blood glucose monitor. They've come out with a box now that measures your air particles, the EMF, loads of things. It's phenomenal. And those are all made in India. So there's no reason why people, if they can afford them, can utilize them and take advantage of them. So just to conclude this podcast here, live from Chris Gethin Gyms, India's health crisis is marked by both malnutrition and obesity, and it requires a multi-pronged approach by returning to traditional food habits, promoting physical activity, and ensuring that there's access to gyms and nutritious foods that we can start to address these challenges head on. Now, it will take effort from individuals, from communities, and of course the government to create meaningful change, but there is hope. The growing awareness and a push for a healthier living, India can pave the way for a healthier future. And that's why I am recording this video, to hopefully contribute to that message. This is why I am doing a tour of seminars here, not only in the gyms, but I'm doing it for Life Fitness, I'm doing it for Hammer Strength. I was in it, like I said, I was in a tech company yesterday doing a talk with my business partner, Jag Chima, educating people. And with our gyms, you know, we hope, like I said, we call these academies where we train the trainers to adequately train the public. And the one thing that I'm very, very proud of what we've done since launching gyms here is that we've encouraged more women to start working out, because in a male dominant culture, a lot of these gyms were male dominant and I hardly ever saw women training. But now, visiting these gyms here, we've done 4 seminars over the past 3 days, seeing how many females are showing up to the gyms, or our gyms, I should say, is just absolutely phenomenal. So that's very, very encouraging that we're seeing that. So anyway, thank you ever so much for joining me for this episode of the Chris Gethin podcast. If you do like this, please do share. Please do subscribe, and obviously let other people know, especially if you have people that's in your community and your network, or people of India that need to hear this, then do share it with them as well. We all have to help together and use a crowd source of education and encouragement and motivation. So thank you very much. Until next week, we are out.